a lot of people struggle with is either to start systems thinking or to stick with systems thinking. Have you worked with such people in some capacity and went, oh, here are the challenges, here are the questions, here's a thought that one must have when they're struggling with just baseline systems?
Yeah.
It could also be their addiction to chaos, like we talked about
Oh,
previously.
yeah. Distraction is the ultimate destroyer of wealth.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just addicted to distractions, and it could be new projects, it can be whatever. So here's what's interesting to me is I am lucky that at 17, for whatever reason, software programming spoke to me. It literally saved my life. And I talk about this in the book where, discovering it in rehab of all places put me down this path of obsession of developing software companies, investing in software companies, and building my empire that predominantly is software based. So what's funny is that like I inherently, maybe I don't know how systems thinking I was prior, but that's kind of how the world of software. It's logic. It's very procedural. Mm-hmm. And then I run into people that are like creatives, and they're like, I like to do it this way, and I don't like too much constraints. And show me your calendar, and I could never do that. That gives me anxiety. Blah blah blah. Cool, but then I just ask them, okay, like what is your outcome you want to achieve, and then let's reverse engineer it. So some of the tweaks I've given people is a lot of stuff we have to make other people's ownership. Okay. So for example, if you can't manage your calendar, I would encourage you to have somebody else own your calendar, and then they'll be responsible to manage your calendar. But nobody will deny that knowing what my calendar looks like tomorrow, next week, next month, this year, so that I can have a way to decide if I say yes or no to things, because I know exactly what I'm doing and what I'm saying yes to and what I'm saying no to, right? Because a no is a yes to your goals and a yes is a no to your dreams. Some people don't realize that. Mm-hmm. I think one of the easiest things that I encourage people to do is just make it somebody else's responsibility. So that's one. The other one is just make it easy to win, right? So like, for example, I get rid of decision fatigues, right? So like a lot of people have a hard time with their nutrition. It's like, for the most part, there's probably 3 meals you really enjoy eating. How about you just lock and load? Like just make those 3 the great meal. And yeah, you might go out once a week and that's your day that you decide to eat anything off the menu. But for 98% of your time, those meals are delicious, clean, they nurture your body, and somebody else takes care of it, and they're delivered to you, and you can do meal prep. You do whatever you want, but just remove the decision. And I think that what most creatives that have a hard time with process and systems, they don't realize that in those constraints is actually where the creativity comes from. Mm-hmm. Right? Like my most creative, innovative ideas have come from lack of resources. So my favorite question to ask people when we're trying to innovate, and this is a great question I would ask them. It's like, so think about this. They don't want structure, they don't want systems, they don't want process. Okay, cool. What would need to be true for you to have a high functioning company where you didn't have to deal with systems? Mm-hmm. That's the constraint. We always add the constraints to the question. Mm-hmm. So if the thing is, I know that I want this high functioning business, but I don't like systems, put those two together, ask the question. As soon as you say it out loud, I don't know what comes up for you, but I'm like, well, one, I should probably not be the guy running it. Mm-hmm. I definitely shouldn't create an SOP, but I know they have to exist. So maybe I should get my team to create them. Oh, that's a cool idea. I never thought of that. Maybe I could hire somebody to come in and create them for us. Maybe I could buy them from somebody. So like all of a sudden now you start coming up with options. The constraint creates the creativity, and they get the desire. See, I actually love creative people, artists specifically. That's why I wrote about them in the book, the Andy Warhols and the Oprahs and, the authors and the Steve Jobs, because I wanted people to see how you can apply this to very creative industries so that they can express themselves and create more. I want the world to be more full of more creations.
Absolutely. And more you listen to creative people. There's a writer that I was listening to the other day, and they've written, like Dan Brown, I think is the person that I was listening to, and he was giving like an interview, and he said, no, at 8 a.m. in the morning, I go and I sit in front of my computer and I have to write for 3 hours, or like 6 a.m., some stupid time, basically. First thing in the morning, that's what we do. That's all I do for 4 or 5 hours before I interact with the world. And that's how creativity shows up.
Yeah.
Creativity shows up when I assign a time to it, or something like that. He said, or some version
So
of it.
good.
But it was literally like that's how you get creative, is because you say now is time to be creative. There's no other
You
science
demand
to
it.
it. Yeah, you
Yeah.
demand it out of yourself over 3-4 hours, whatever time it is, and it just shows up then because now you're expecting it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it would just never show up because there's no other way to get creative but
Yeah.
to say now is creativity. And the first 20 minutes might be a struggle, but then your mind, your soul, everything regulates
Yeah.
to it, and then you go, all right, now it's a download for next 2 hours.
Yeah.